And so the game we're going to mainly go over is practice test 78, game 4. I sent a PDF of it above. There's 3 different PDFs because I got the screenshots. But if you have any questions about getting access to the game, feel free to let me know. Do we have anybody who's completely new at Logic Games or relatively new?
Me.
Okay. Do you have? Okay, yeah, that works. We'll go through diagramming then as far as like what steps you normally take and kind of how to do it. If that works for you, share.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so let's get started as far as kind of what we're looking for, how to build this diagram, and kind of how this will help us go through the logic game. So first off, the first thing I like to do is this section right here, as far as the game pieces up here in this top left corner. I like to put these all in a. I like to put these up here. That way people can that way you kind of know what you're putting in your diagram. So that way you kind of know the different variables you have and what materials might be missing or kind of where to go from here. So here we see we have 6 people doing additions. We have KLTWYZ. So that's why you put that up there. We know they're doing 6 additions in a row. So I did 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's kind of the first thing I did. So I know that I have 6 things, 6 spots. So each thing's going to fill 1 spot, correct? So for example, if W is here, it can't go later on. We each know they're going to present once based on our initial stimulus, right?
Can you, I'm sorry, I understand the 6 spots.
Mhm.
For the first spot, I see you have W or Z.
Yeah.
And set K or L, because can you remind me how you got to that?
Yeah, we haven't really touched on that yet. So as we go through the rules, we kind of show the deductions. I just want to make sure we have the initial as far I like to so just ignore these real quick.
Okay,
And we'll go through deductions together as a group.
okay.
So so this is kind of what the first hand was this one and then just the 6 columns. Then we'll go through the different kind of rules from there. Does that work?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
No problem. So next, one thing we see in the stimulus is that we see K and L are both recorded and the other 4 are not. So because we know that it takes place one after another on a single day, we kind of know each are going to be there's going to be that 6 blocks, those 6 columns. But here we have the interesting, like it's not a rule technically, but it kind of is where K and L are going to be recorded, and this kind of plays into our rules, right? So here rule 1 says that the person going forth cannot be recorded. So for that rule, I put 4 cannot equal recorded, so that equals K or L. So you can also do 4 equals can equal R, or you could do this. You could do 4 cannot equal K or L, right? This means the same thing, it's just a little shorter hand as far as this way. We know
Okay.
5 has to equal R. 5 has to be recorded, so we know 5 can equal R, or 5 equal K and L as well. K or L. Now rule 3, we have W has to be before. Wade's addition must take place earlier than the 2 recorded additions. So we know that W has to be before K and before L.
Michael, may
Does
you
that make
repeat
sense?
that? That doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense to me because I'm thinking, can't there be other people that are recorded as well?
Well, it says K and L addition will be recorded. The other 4 will not be in the stimulus.
Ah, got you. Thank you.
Does that make sense? So the only one we know K and L are the only ones recorded. It was kind of a tricky like tool they used to just instead of saying wait must take place earlier than K and L, it's just the 2 recorded where K and L are the only recorded ones. So they just add an extra step in the stimulus to make sure you caught on to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little frustrating, but that's why they made it the 4th game, I think, that extra step. So we know that then W. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Michael. So where it shows W is before others, the others really is K and L, because
Yeah, because it says W weights addition must take place earlier than the 2 recorded additions. So what it shows here as far as W must be before K and L. So after we go through the rules, I kind of go through the deductions we can make from these rules. So we know rule 4 says that K must be before T. So we have a K before T, and we know Z must be before Y according to rule 5. Any questions on the diagramming of the rules? Sorry, go ahead. Sure.
I have a question on 4 and 5.
Mhm.
So you put one slot between K and T. It doesn't matter that it doesn't specify one slot?
So what this means is that in the journal formatting, the way we do it, like an LSAT Unplugged, this doesn't necessarily mean it's one spot. It can be as many spots as possible. It's just saying Z comes before Y at some point. If I were to signify one spot, I'd do something like this, where I'd go and more of the underline.
Oh,
of
so
dash.
that's the middle. Okay.
Yes, so that's more like I put like I didn't put like a variable there. If I want to signify one spot, or if I know Z comes before Y, so like if I know Z and then it's Y immediately after, I'd do this. It's just more to signify that Z comes before Y at some point. But if I did ZY, then I might confuse myself into thinking that Y has to come right after Z, if that makes sense.
Okay, I understand. So when it's not one spot, it's K, but it's the hyphen. And then if
Yes.
it is one spot, it's K lower hyphen.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
And everybody has their own diagramming format to make sense to you. But that's how I found it easier to kind of know that if it says one spot difference, it makes it a little easier for me to do it that way. I don't find a lot of ones that have one spot difference, so mainly you'll see the hyphen that Z comes before Y.
Thank you.
No problem. So any other questions on like the rule diagramming for anybody? Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable shouting out loud too, you can always message in chat or message me privately. So now that we have the rule diagram, let's do some deductions, kind of what we can learn from these rules. So first off, rule 1, we know 4 cannot be K or L. So normally I'd go up here and say, okay, I know K and L cannot be 4th, right? So I'll put that up there to kind of remind myself, okay, no matter what, K and L should not be in this column at all. Next, we know 5 has to be recorded, right? So that's where I put, like Cher asked earlier, I know that 5 has to be K or L. This is very nice because we know if, let's say we have K in spot 2 at some point, we then know L has to be in spot 5 because spot 5 can only have K or L in it.
Okay.
So next we'll move to 5 equals R, so that's what kind of what we did here. Next, we know we have the WKL block, right? So what you can also do here is because we have WKL. And then we know K. We know from rule 4 that K also has to come before T. So we use that to kind of help us build our diagram. So if we then know W cannot come last, right? Because K and L have to follow it. We already know W can't come 5th. We know W can't come 4th. Because W has to have a K, T, and L after it. And if W comes 4th, one of those variables won't be after it, right? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody as far as why W can't be 4th. Next, as far as K and L go, we know they can't be 4th. We know K and L. We know K can't be last because T has to follow it, right? So K can't be last. We know L can't be first because W has to come before it. We know K can't come first because W has to come before it as well. So it helps us eliminate that. We know T can't come first because it has to have a WK and an L or a WK before it. And we know Z can't come or Y can't come first either because we know Z has to come before it. So that means we have 4 things that can't come first. Right? So we know, we know 4 things can't come first. So then we know that in this first spot, we either have to have the W or Z. So if I learn that Z is third at some point, I know W has to be first then. And also Z can't come last because Y has to follow it. Yes, Lacey's?
I'm sorry, can you just repeat why K cannot go first?
Why K can't go first?
Yeah.
It's because rule 3, W has to come before K and L.
Right, thank you.
No problem. It's kind of a weird chain rule there. So now that we know W and Z has to come first, we know K and L have to come fifth. It kind of helps us know where if we know one of the spots, we know where the other one's going to be. Also, we know T can't come fifth. T can come sixth. We know T can't come first. We know T also can't come second, right? Because the W, K have to come before it. So now let's move on to the, are there any questions on these deductions we made? Okay. If not, let's move on to question 1 then. So question 1 states, which one of the following could be the order of the dish from first to last?
That's question 1.
Yeah, question 1. Go ahead and do question. Go ahead and do question 1. Sorry, give me 1 second. It's bugging out on me again.
That's number 20, right?
All right, yeah, everybody go do please do question 1 and I'll share my screen again.
Is that the one, number 20, which one of the following?
No, it's number 18.
Number 18, okay, thank you.
Yes, no problem. See, sorry, not a question, but the first question is game set, number 18. Can everybody see my screen again? Oh, yeah, everybody take a minute or two to do question 1, and we'll go from there. So the correct answer to this one is D, as in dog. Can everybody hear me too, by the way? Is audio coming through good? Okay, cool. Yep. So exactly what Sade said as far as like grab a rule. So this is the question type you'll see for a lot of these first games. So what it says is, which one of the following could be the order of the additions from first to last? So what you want to do here is you want to take the rules and bring them to the games instead of going through each answer choice and trying to figure out what's wrong. So rule 1, so I'll see rule 1 says 4 cannot be recorded. So 4 cannot be K or L. So I'm going to look through each answer choice, A, B, C, D, and E, and try to eliminate one of them, or try to eliminate them if they have an R in that 4th spot. So for example, for the first rule, we see that in E, we see Lugo is 4th, so we can eliminate E. Next, we go to rule 2 and see, okay, we know the 5th spot has to be something that's recorded, so we know 5th has to be K or L. So I go through the answer choice and see, okay, in C, K and L, or in C, we see K and L are not in that 4th spot, it's T. So we can eliminate C, we go through the rest and see, okay, they all uphold the rules, at least uphold this rule. Next, we know W has to come before K and L. So as far as we know in spot 3, or we know, sorry, rule 3 says W has to come before K and L. So we look at the answer choice and see, okay, A has K first, so we know W is not before K and L, so we can eliminate A. And finally, in rule 4, we check if K comes before T, and in both of our last answer choices, we see K comes before T, so that's not an issue. Then finally, we see in B that Y comes before Z, so it violates rule 5. So you can eliminate B, and the correct answer choice is D as in dog. Any questions? Does this make sense to everybody? Kind of how we did the grab rule?
It does, I guess, I'm just gonna have to practice.
Yeah, I think this is one of those game types where the more you see it, the easier it becomes. Because what you do is you grab like this first rule and you apply it to all the answer choices as quick as possible and say, okay, you're looking at the 4 spot of your answer choices and making sure there's not a K or L in there. Then you can eliminate that one and do the same for each of the rules through the answer choices, if that makes sense. And then another tip of what I like to do is I like to include the correct answer in my game. So I know WZKTLY fits in the game because it fits in it's a legal game because it was the answer choice for this first one. So next, let's move to 19. It's actually this way. What do you mean, James?
So all of the if questions would give you a different scenario. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So once you've done all the if questions first, then you can go back and do the other questions, because with the other scenarios, that will help you to eliminate the question that has which and any other questions after all the if questions.
Yeah, I mean that's a strategy a lot of people use because if questions are generally like ones that start with if are generally considered local questions where
Right.
they give you something and they're asking you to solve that, so you have to make it that way. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So it's more of a preference thing. I never liked skipping questions, if that makes sense. I would just go through all one another.
Okay.
I feel like there's a rule they put it in that order. But I doing if first does make it easier if you keep a neat diagram. If you're not diagramming neatly, then I'd say it's not worth it because you can't look back on them. But I'd say yes. Most people do like to do that way first.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, let's move on to 19. So 19 says, which one of the following cannot be the second edition? So try to use your deductions and try to figure out which of the following cannot be the second edition. And we'll come back and go ahead and take a minute, do this one, and we'll come back together. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up when you're finished. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one real quick. So here, does anyone want to share their answer and kind of what led them to that answer?
I can go ahead, Michael.
ahead.
So for 18, I did not skip. I wanted to try by not doing that. So we know that W or Z can go first. And so I said, okay, let's select W. And if W goes first, that violates our rule because T has to, and we plug in T, we know that K has to go before T. So that's why T cannot work second.
Yeah. I'd say exactly. I think we kind of went through the deductions already, actually. And we said T can't be second
Right.
because W and K have to come before it. So because we know that, we could immediately go, like the first thing I would do is I'd look at this question and say, okay, which one of the following cannot be the second edition? I look at my deductions and say, okay, well, I know T can't be the second edition, so that's probably the correct answer. And hopefully it's there. And if it is, I select that one and move on. Does that make sense as to why T can't be the second one? Well, if there's any questions, feel free to shout out. Let's move on to question 20 then. So question 20 states, which one of the following could be the sixth edition? Go ahead and take a couple minutes and we'll go through this one. Let's go through this one real quick. Can everybody see my screen and kind of see what I did here?
I'm
cool.
sorry, Michael, I have a question. My screenshot
Yeah.
isn't working. Is this something where you posted somewhere for us or no?
I believe the recording is posted. I don't post the
Oh, okay,
the whiteboard,
thank you.
so no problem. Yeah, the recording I believe is shared through LSAT. But Ivy or Nisil will have to correct me on there when LSAT Unplugged. Okay. Let's go through this one real quick as far as does anybody want to share their answer? Like, I guess how they reached that answer. I'm like, okay, let me see. Can everybody can everyone hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Cool. All right. So let's have somebody share their answer and kind of what they did to get there.
I can try.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So for this one, from my initial deductions, the only letters that I knew could go on the sixth place was T, letter C as in Thomas, and letter Y. So on this answer choices, I don't see Y as part of the answers. So I pick letter C as in Charlie, as T being the only one that can go on the sixth place, that could go on the sixth place.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what a lot of people did. So I eliminated A, D, and E because I knew my deduction said W, K, and Z cannot be in the sixth spot. I didn't get to where K and L couldn't be in this. I knew K couldn't be in the sixth spot to have something following it, but I didn't get like L can't be in the sixth spot. So I tried that and said, well, if we have K, we have L here, we know K has to be fifth then according to our rules, and at that point it leaves no room for T. So L can't be sixth. So now I know T has to be sixth.
So Michael,
Yes.
the reason why L cannot be 6, we had a prior deduction where we had W, K, L, and then T. So either K or
Yes.
L would have to be before T, and so that means L can't be 6.
Watch out for that one actually, because the WKL and then the T rule only applies to K and T. It doesn't apply to L. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like it's a that KT, but however, the L can still go after the T because there's nothing that ties L to T, if that makes sense. As long as L is after W.
Thank you for that.
Does that make sense? That little
Yeah.
difference there?
Yeah.
Okay. L can't be sixth, but I think it's more because we know if L is sixth, then K has to be fifth, and then we know there's no way T could be after it, after K. And so I just did like an example one right here as far as an example where T could be sixth. Any questions on number 20? Okay, if not, let's move to 21. No problem. So let's move to 21 real quick. So 21 says, if K's audition is immediately before Y, which one of the following could be true? So here we're getting another kind of like James said, an if question where we don't have to have that KY block. So go ahead and try out the answer choices and we'll go through it as a group after you all finish. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up whenever you're done. Let's go through this one. Does anybody want to share their answer? I know some people shared it in chat. Does anybody want to say kind of how they got there? If not, let's go. Let me go through it then. So as far as 21 says, if K's audition is immediately before Y's, which one of the following could be true? So for this one, it's kind of hard to know as far as like not doing process elimination. You can get some general ideas as you do it and go a little quicker, but I diagrammed out each answer choice here to make it easier to see. So first answer choice A says K's audition is second. So if we see K's audition is second, we know Y has to be third, right? If we know K and Y are here, we know Z and W both have to come first, and that's not possible. So A cannot be true. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Answer choice B says T's audition is fourth. Well, if T's audition is fourth, we know K has to come at some point before T. So if T's audition is fourth, we know K has to come second because one is W or Z, and Y would then have to come third. And for the same reason above, we know that then W and Z both can't come first. So we know B cannot be true. Next, we see for C that W audition is third. So we put W in the third spot. If we know W is third, we then know both L and K have to follow W. And we know we have LKY, we have KY block, but T also has to follow W. So there's too many spaces on the right side of W for this one to work. So C cannot be true. Next for D, Y's audition is sixth. If Y's audition is sixth, then K is fifth. And if K is fifth and Y is sixth, T cannot come after it. So that by rule 4. So D cannot be true. And finally, we get to E, where Z's audition is second. If Z's audition is second, we then know W's audition has to be first. We then know that KY block has to be third and fourth. And we can put L and T later on and have no issues or violate any rules. And this is one way that E could be true. Any questions on this one about any of the answer choices or kind of how we did that?
Hey, Michael, I have a quick question. Considering this is our fourth game and time is restricted, what would have been a quicker process rather than process of elimination?
Oh, let me see. So as far as KY, sorry, pull up the question. So if K is immediately before Y, which the following could be true, I would say A and B you can eliminate right off the bat. I did these quicker than writing. I did these kind of in my head, if that makes sense. Whereas as soon as I saw K in that second spot, I kind of realized, well, I know K can't be in the second spot anyways, right? According to the deduction we made. So I eliminate A and B right off the bat by that, right? And C, we know C kind of says W's not. I think this one there's really no other way, unless you have previously drawn games like the last one.
Yes.
Like one where we have K before Y and we see that in that spot. But other than that, I think this is what you kind of have to do by process elimination.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Michael, I
No
have a quick
problem. Unless
question.
anybody else. Yes, James.
How did you come up with that deduction K and Y, where K is 2 and Y is 3 again? Could we just change rule 4?
What do you mean? I'm confused as far
Alright,
as
so-
what you sorry.
The question says if K is before Y, and
Yes.
you plotted out on our main sketch that K is on 2 and Y is on 3.
This one, which one? This one or this one here?
Letter choice A.
Yeah, so this one can't work. Does that make sense?
Right. It can't work.
Yes. Do you want me to explain why?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so if K is 2, right? And Y is 3. So that's what it's saying with the answer choice, what A said. K is 2, right? So which forces Y to be 3 according to the game or to the question, right? We know T has to come after we know we have to have a KT block, and we know T can't come last. We know T can't come last. We know that the T really doesn't matter in this regard, but KY, right? If KY is here, we know we have to have a W before the K, right? And we know we have to have a Z before the Y, right? So if K is second and Y is third, both W and Z cannot fit here. Does that make sense?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions about this one? Okay, if not, let's move to 22. 22 states Y's audition could be fifth, fourth, third, second, first. Go ahead and take a minute or two to this one, and then we'll go through this one as a group. Okay, so this is one that I hope didn't take a lot of people a long time because because we already kind of the last diagram we can use. This is an interesting question as far as it's pretty simple as far as where can Y be out of these answer choices. So if we know Y could already be last, we know our answer choices are only pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In our last diagram, we had Y in the fourth spot. So I used that and said, okay, Y could be fourth, and I moved on. As far as Sade goes, as far as like time saving techniques, that saved me a minute and a half after spending this question, right? So there's some questions you can do that. I think there are some that aren't. And it's also important to recognize which ones you should know. And that's why making deductions at the beginning are so important. So as soon as I have that, or keeping like your diagrams organized to be able to see, if I erase the last diagram, I might not see Y is able to be in fourth, and I might spend 5 minutes trying to get to that fourth answer choice. So the correct answer would be B as in boy, and it's the fourth spot. Any questions about this one?
Should we make a diagram for each question, or should we use one big diagram?
For tutoring, I use one for each question, but I generally do it a little different as far as I do one diagram for each question for one diagram for the entire thing. So like let's say this is number 22, right? So I'll draw 22 next to my 22 work, and then I'll do 23 right below it.
Okay, I did one
Insert
too
diagram.
because I think I did one big diagram too because I figured it saved more time. Is that
It saves time and allows you a lot more focus. Like, if it
okay?
makes sense. It makes it a lot easier to look back up at your answer choices.
Thank
That's
you.
all I recommend it.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. So, all right. Let us go to 23 then. So 23 is our favorite type of game. It's the our favorite type of question. It's the which one of the following, if substituted for the condition, am I still going in and out? Okay. 1 second. Okay. So 23 says, which one of the following, if substituted for the condition that W's audition must take place earlier than the 2 recorded editions, would have the same effect in determining the order of the auditions? Can everybody hear me now or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Just picking up a little.
Yeah, cool. Let's go through so let's everybody take a couple minutes to do this one and make sure you don't overcomplicate it. And then we'll go through this one real quick. Okay. Does somebody want to share their answer, kind of how they got there? So if not, the correct answer in this case is A. And the reason it's A
Yes.
is because this one. Go ahead, Chair. Sorry.
Oh no, I was happy. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, you're good. I was. Sounds good. So yeah, the quick answer is A. In the other answer choices, they're kind of more restrictive. Whereas we know A forces Z to be before W. Or W be either first or second. But for like answer choice D, right? It says wait, audition must be either first or second. That doesn't necessarily force Z to also be first or second. Or Z to be first, Z to be second either. So for example, if W is rule 3 makes it where if W is second, Z is first. D wouldn't lead to that same outcome if that makes sense. D means something else could be first. Does that make sense to everybody? So yeah, so as far as C goes, weights addition must take place earlier than Lu goes. So yes, that works, right? So W takes place before L. However, there's a case here where if W, let's go, W here, right? So to prove this wrong, let's find a case where K can come before W, right? It's kind of what we're doing to prove it wrong. So if we have K here. Here, ZK. W. L Y, right? Lacey. So this wouldn't work under the old game, but this would work under this new rule, right? Right. Does that make sense? So it's not restrictive enough, and that C is not restrictive enough. Cool. Now I guess we already went through A, or no problem. So D, E is also not restrictive enough since the first edition cannot be recorded. But as far as like a test taking technique, I'd see that one and immediately eliminate it because that just looks way too open. And I'd basically between A and B. And however, it's W has to take place either immediately before or immediately after Z, right? Yeah, so B, yeah, language exactly. Language use kind of. So if B says W must take place either immediately before or immediately after Z, but that doesn't necessarily mean that W has to be taking place. So we could have W Z here, right? Could have K here. Could have T here. We could have Y here. And we could have L here. It doesn't necessarily force that L to be after W. Because I believe this upholds all the other rules. Correct? Yeah, it does. So it doesn't necessarily, it's also too open as far as the first A limits those to the first two answer choices. Does that make sense?
Michael, I'm sorry.
Good.
No, it's just like a question. This looks like something similar to the must be true, but even though two of them are true, one that would seem more accurate. Is that
Yeah, these ones are more like which one's more accurate. Technically, I'd say that's why they're more challenging.
okay? Thank you.
Go ahead, Josh.
So, thank you, Michael. So I did choose A because it was determinative of the order and made sure that the other rules weren't violated. But I also know for substitution questions, they shouldn't really change the composition of the other boards that we made. And we know that W can go first. So that's why I don't know if I've been thinking about it too much because I know W can go first.
W can go first. So what this one is saying is that
Okay.
Z is the only one that can take place earlier than W. So W can be
nice.
1 or 2.
Okay.
So it's that wording there where it says can is the only that can be. Exactly.
Okay. I see. So A is right because Z can go before W. It doesn't say it has to. Otherwise, then
Exactly.
Okay. So if Z said that if A said that only Z can go before, the can is the keyword. Okay.
Exactly. If it says it must, then it would be incorrect.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about this one? I know this one's the more complicated one. We didn't have much time to go over it.
Michael, one quick question. So I was trying to restrict W instead of Z.
What do you mean?
So-
Sorry.
I was trying to restrict W in places 1 and 2, and I guess I forgot about Z as a whole.
Exactly, because like this is the last one as far as B goes, right? That's kind of the one you're questioning.
Yes.
Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to find you need to like the important thing is you're trying to mimic this rule. So you're trying to find a scenario where K and L has to be after W, not necessarily that W is in 1 or 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because there's other like deductions that come from W having K and L after it, and one of those that Z has to be first or second too.
Okay, I guess I didn't apply the rule. Instead, I was looking at previous games, but didn't really.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about this or anything we covered today? Okay. If not, I hope everyone has a good one. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see everyone here next week. And yeah.